As you remember from the movie last night, you saw it. You weren't here? We saw this movie. What do you call the movie? What the bleep do we know? What I thought was unreal for me seems more real than what I think is not real, but now it seems less real. Okay, so simply, there are 8 international scientists. You can't explain it. Whoever gets too much into it, tries so hard, they get into it so much, they get lost forever down the rabbit hole. So they give a very good example. They say that an Indian is standing on the beach, and he looks into the ocean, and Columbus ships start arriving, but he doesn't see the ships. Why can't he see them? Because he doesn't have in his mind the same model as a big house that floats on the sea. So he can't see it because he doesn't have the vessel that can discover this thing. He needs to have a vessel first, and then he can discover the shape that can dress in his mind. But after he hears about it and builds inside his head all kinds of paintings and patterns, then he starts seeing it. Slowly, slowly, the ships start to appear for him. He sees them. Once he can see them, he goes to the rest of the Indians, and he tells them, you know, you don't see, but I can see. So start imagining that it's like this and it's like that. It's like a big house with many floors, some kind of a mountain, and it's coming closer to us all the time. And then they start building in their imagination vessels, and they begin seeing. The truth is that they're wrong, because the ship doesn't exist either. It only exists in the imagination of whoever imagines. This world doesn't exist. It's also in our imagination. But what do I want to say? What about this example is good? If you don't have the vessels, you don't recognize anything on the outside. How do I build a vessel inside of me if I don't know what something is on the outside of me? I need somebody to tell me about it. There's no other way. That's why the Kabbalistic sages write books for you, for us. And according to these books, you start imagining what's out there. And from this imagination, slowly you build patterns and some kinds of shapes in your mind. For sure, they're not correct, but slowly, by longing, by desire, you invite a light that is building shapes more and more close to what it is. And then you start reaching that point where you can actually see. The light is built within the vessel. And if not for that, how can you tell? Around us are worlds. You can't imagine what's happening here, around you. You can't capture in your own emotions these kinds of forces. These are all forces surrounding us, but what are they? You try to catch them to know what they are, but you can't. You don't have equivalency of form with these forces, so you can't feel them. Imagine that a caveman just appeared right now into this world, like you see sometimes in the movies. So he's in this world, and he's walking around, and he's seeing everything that's happening. But he wouldn't be able to see anything. Nothing. he wouldn't recognize that these things exist. So, would he have bumped into walls or not? Ventura knows. Instead of 2 fingers, he sees 3. The space that seems empty to me can be more solid than whatever seems solid to me. If I have the vessel, then I would see that I'm like that, and then I would see that this world, meaning this space that seems free to me, is filled with forces of the Creator. That means that I have nowhere to move. Then I would feel myself surrounded with walls of concrete because the Creator is holding me and grabbing me so that I have no free motion. The only thing that needs to develop is the vessel. Yes. So now, from New York, Zhenya, you're probably going to ask, so can this Indian pass through this wall? Yes, he can. He has no sense of it, and it's not there for him. For him, there's no material and not a shape dressed in the material. Simple as that. If we get away from the way we usually see, we'll come to the true point that the Kabbalists are telling us, that seems so strange to us. And those scientists who study quantum physics, why do they come to this realization? Because they enter a world that has strange rules. Suddenly, one thing can be in 2 places. Or time and space and movement can be in another shape. And they come to this same thought. Everything depends on the one who perceives it. And that's why whether you pass through the wall or you don't, exists only towards me, but it doesn't exist on its own. And what does towards me mean? It means, according to my vessels, it will be yes or no. Only in this world we're born with 5 vessels, and we develop from one generation to the next. So a child is born and immediately begins to develop in such a way that he's in an environment and in a world that grows along with him. He's the one who captures the world, and it becomes a fact to him. All the rest, the shapes, everything is immaterial, and he's the one who gives it meaning through his 5 senses. It's the same with us and our 5 senses. All these 5 senses are the way that we get things, and we produce these things according to what they manufacture. I manufacture the buildings, and the walls, and the earth, and all the galaxies, all of reality. I manufacture it with my own vessels and my own emotions. I'm hanging. Well, don't try going through walls. But we say that even if you don't know the rules and you don't understand them, they still work on you. The rules affect you because you're in those rules. You made those rules. The rules don't exist. The upper light is in an abstract form. The restriction on the light, you made that. What rules do you really have? You have only one rule. The rule of equivalency of form. And the amount that you are equivalent to the light, in this amount you are unrestricted. The restrictions are only where the data of your equivalency to the light ends. And that is how you make the form. on all your 613 desires, you restrict it, and from that, you manufacture your body. And that collection of restrictions, when you put them all together, give you the image of reality. This is very interesting to deal with, but don't do it. I mean, you can do it, but it takes away from the main thing. Achieve correction of the vessels, and then you immediately rise above the Indians, above the scientists, above the investigators and researchers to a different level of reality. You'll see that all of this is just a childish phase. What about UFOs? Why do you concern yourself with UFOs? We live in a world where dinosaurs live along with us, and they don't feel us, and we don't feel them. Alien schmalians, do they exist or not? Do I know? Do I have a mutual vessel with them? I, with my own vessels, am passing through all sorts of shapes. You can't escape it. So, do we then have a vessel that is more developed than that Indian? Are we closer to seeing? Don't think that you have vessels that are bigger and richer than he has. You have built so many more impressions and built so many more shapes, more and more reactions that you've stored in yourself. And so the more of these that you acquire, you discover all these things in this world, and those things eventually restrict you. And in that, you start seeing that you are not truly free. Can we reach the wisdom of Kabbalah through quantum physics? No. Otherwise, Abraham would have dealt with quantum physics first. They're talking about love, and it's all one world, because they're feeling a movement towards this form. But how do you implement this? Quantum physics can't answer this, because this is the upper force, and they're saying there is an upper force, but the technique to do it is above knowledge. They don't have this kind of vessel. The vessel that is called faith above reason. The correction of bestowing that comes through the study of Kabbalah. You are standing at the entrance to a treasure house. You have received an invitation to eternity, to completeness. Bala Salam.